Wow. So this is kind of, I don't know if I should call it a marathon or call it a sprint. But the next person that I'm going to bring in is also very dear to me. And I have to call him in the way I would normally call him before we go into our session. So first of all, let me introduce this amazing human. If you get to meet him one-on-one, he would definitely let you know what his passion is about. But I also want to share something about him that I don't think I have ever said that to him before. Some years ago, when I see him, I felt he didn't look very healthy. I just used to watch and I just wondered that, okay, maybe he's stressed or whatever. Then fast forward maybe a year or two later, what did he do? He was now looking younger than he ever used to look before. His face was like bright, basically years had been taken off his face. By the time he began to talk about his passion, I said, aha, that explains it. So let me introduce Toyin Banjoko. Is a registered pharmacist. You know, we're in Nigeria. I don't know about other African countries, but in Nigeria, he'll be referred to as pharmacist Toyin Banjoko. How many people know that? So Toyin Banjoko is a registered pharmacist with over 30 years experience spanning the African and North American continents. Even though his profession primarily deals with providing medication to patients to treat various medical conditions, he has now come to the realization that the root cause and solution to sickness and disease is largely determined by diet and lifestyle. Understand this. He makes his living through selling medication, but has now come to understand that the root cause of sickness and disease, the solution to it, is largely determined by by your diet and lifestyle. Toyin's passion now is to advocate for low carbohydrates, ketogenic diets, to solving many chronic medical conditions such as obesity, weight loss, and type 2 diabetes. Ladies and gentlemen, I call him Uncle Toyin. I call him Uncle Toyin because he's also family to me. But without further ado, I want you to please make welcome Toyin Banjoko. Welcome. Welcome.
Hello, hello, hello. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, we can.
We can. Good, good, good. Thank you for inviting me to this series on food and your health. I'm honored to be part of this. And I hope I can pass some of my passion, if I call it my passion, to those that would be equally interested. Like Pastor Tia said, I'm a pharmacist, and of course I make my living by giving out drugs. So some people now wonder, if I'm going to make my living by giving out drugs, why am I now going against how I make a living? But I still make a living anyway. I still give out drugs. But for those that will listen, I tell them that most of the chronic illnesses we have today can be traced back to our diet and our lifestyle. So to begin with, let me be upfront. I am an advocate of the low carbohydrate diet. And low carbohydrate ketogenic diet. I believe the solution to most of our chronic medical problems lies in reducing our carbs. Okay, now there are three major macronutrients in the body that the body requires. Well, that the body that we can use: the carbohydrates, protein, and fats. Now, for some reason, over the last 20, 30, 40 years, people have come to hate fats. And and the consumption of carbohydrates has increased tremendously. And I think that is where we have a problem. Because out of the three macronutrients, the protein, the dietary fats, and the carbohydrates, there's only one that the body can do without. Unfortunately, for most people who are surprised, it is the carbohydrates. Your body needs protein to build body and muscles. Your body requires dietary fats for energy, and your body can absolutely do without carbohydrates. Some people find it difficult to believe that that is true, but it is true. You do not need any carbohydrates. I mean, I know you don't have to go zero carbohydrates, but your body can live without carbohydrates because your liver itself can actually synthesize sugars. If you don't take any carbohydrates, your liver can synthesize sugar by a process called I don't want to get too complicated, but your liver can manufacture sugar for you. So you don't need to consume sugar. So anyway, let me go through a few things about carbohydrates. When you there are three the medical conditions that is causing most of our chronic diseases is: one, obesity, weight gain, especially when you start getting older and your metabolism starts to reduce, weight gain. Then, of course, weight gain precedes pre-diabetes, which is now a big problem in North America. We have almost 50% of the population that are either pre-diabetic or diabetic. And of course, with that comes, once you become a diabetic, it now comes with various medical conditions, medical problems. We all know diabetes causes blindness, it causes neuropathy, it causes a lot of other medical conditions. And so what I believe we should be doing is, first of all, reduce our carbs considerably. And, so basically go into a low carb diet, and then trying to maintain our consumption of protein and dietary fats. And also we have to realize one thing, that when we are in our diet, the thing that actually determines weight loss or weight gain is hormone insulin. The hormone insulin is what brings the sugar in the blood and allows the cells to absorb the sugar. So what determines weight gain is hormone insulin. So the lower you can keep the hormone insulin, the better it will be for you to lose weight, to control pre-diabetes, and control a host of other medical conditions. So some people believe you lose weight by cutting calories and all that, but what we find out that when you cut your calories, your body will adjust, because you cannot, like in science, in Newton's law, they said, you cannot create, or energy can only be transferred from one form or the other. So when you reduce your calories. Calorie reduction doesn't work in the long term. When you just think, oh, I'll just go to eat less, your body would reduce its metabolic rate, and then it will compensate, and then you gain all the weight back. So what has had the most success is to look at the insulin, which is a fat storage hormone. And when you reduce your sugar, which will reduce your level of insulin, then your body can burn the fats. So when you're talking about, the first thing is reducing weight. So there's a low carbohydrate diet, which is what I advocate. Then, of course, there's something called intermittent fasting. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of intermittent fasting. What intermittent fasting does is just basically reduces your level of insulin so that your body can start burning the fats, because insulin is a fat storage hormone. And people say, oh, fasting. Like personally now, I only eat twice a day. I don't eat 3 times a day anymore with snacking. And some people will snack. Every time you eat, your insulin level rises. That's what I'm trying to communicate. And once your insulin level rises, your body goes into a fat storage mode. So there is a need for you to, there's no law saying we have to be eating, 3-4 times a day, and then we have to snack too. Some people would snack. Every time you eat and you snack, your insulin level goes up, and then your body is not able to burn the fats it has stored. It's just going to be storing more and more fats. So, and intermittent fasting is not difficult. It just, already we have breakfasts. We are breaking fast. Maybe we eat at 8 p.m. We now wait until 8 or 9 o'clock. So if you can just push it to like 12 or 1 o'clock, there's intermittent fasting. There's something called 18-6 or 16-8, meaning that you fast for 18 hours or 16 hours, and then you eat in a window of 6 or 8 hours. Maybe you have your first meal between 12 and 1, and then your second meal before 8 p.m. And that's it. And then if you have to snack, you snack when you have your main meal. You do not, decide to snack at 2 p.m., 4 p.m., 6 p.m. And then, because every time you snack, again, your insulin level comes up and your body goes into fat storage mode. And so number 1, low carb. Number 2, intermittent fasting. Number 3, exercise. When you add exercise to the equation, your muscles and tissue, they can absorb insulin better than when you don't exercise. But I recommend maybe just going for walks. No need to stress yourself out with rigorous exercise. Go for walks or do strength exercise. And then, of course, stress. You have to reduce your stress level in life. If something is causing you stress, you have to reduce it. And then we all have different ways of coping with the stress, but just reduce your stress. And then we have to sleep. I recommend at least 7 hours of sleep every day. I know some of us don't get 7 hours. I struggle to get 7 hours myself, but it's good to sleep more, to get at least 7 hours of sleep. So this talks about basically, how you can maintain your weight based on a low carbohydrate diet. And then the next thing I want to talk about is those that are maybe pre-diabetes or they're actually diabetic. Diabetic is basically it's sugar toxicity of your body. That's what diabetes is. Before they had drugs to treat diabetes, they used to control it with diet. But now that they have drugs, everybody has forgotten about diet and lifestyle. We all have our cookies, biscuits, sugar. All diabetes is just toxicity of carbohydrates in the body. That's all it is. So The natural way, before drugs came, we used to control it with our diet by cutting out, you know, a lot of sugar. In fact, sugar should be a no-no to anyone that is pre-diabetic, or even if you're not a diabetic. Control your health. Sugar should be a no-no. Sugar should be classified like cigarette smoking. It is toxic to the body. Your body only has 5 grams of sugar in it. You know, your body, your blood system only has 5 grams of sugar. A banana, for example, a banana has like, I have an app that shows how much sugar is in a lot of fruits, okay, like a banana has 5.7 teaspoons of sugar, a ripe banana, and your body only has 1 teaspoon of sugar. So you can see that you do not need some food. Some food should be cut out altogether. Me, I don't take bananas anymore. A lot of food I have actually stopped taking now, and by the time I do my blood test and my chemistry test, there's been a big improvement. In fact, let me even give you my own personal example. What got me into all this? About 2.5 years ago, I did a blood test. A blood, what they call it in Canada, they call it a blood chemistry. And I was pre-diabetic. My liver function test too was not the optimal one. So I had fatty liver disease. Fatty liver disease is basically when you consume too much carbohydrates. And so I now realized that, you know, I had to do something about my health. So I adopted the low carbohydrate diet, reduced my carbs. I stopped eating pounded yam, stopped taking plant. I used to love rice and plantain. Unfortunately, I don't take it anymore. Or fortunately, I don't take all those things anymore. And this caused my pre-diabetes to be reversed, my liver function test, everything to be reversed. In fact, it was so wonderful that I just felt like 20 years younger again, you know? So, and it's all because of the diet. I did not take drugs. Now, I must admit, I am still on blood pressure medication. I also had, you know, my dad died of a cardiovascular related event. So I knew that I had to do something if I don't want to follow the same pathway. So I avoided taking diabetic medication, my liver function, and even my blood pressure I'm taking is the lowest dose of blood pressure medication. And that one, you know, that one too will be adjusted very soon, you know, by the doctor. So, of course, I'm seeing questions that, what do I eat if I don't take rice, if I don't take pounded yam? So what does this guy eat? So yeah, I will answer some of those questions. So now, Pastor Tolu, hello?
Yes, I'm having
Yes.
a good laugh here
So,
with the questions. What do you eat?
okay, so
Yes.
what do I eat? I've kind of substituted everything. So like yesterday, I ate yesterday night, I had amala made with egg. They call it eggplant in Canada. I think they call it another name in the UK.
Yeah, aubergines.
Oh, aubergines, yes.
Yes.
So
Aubergines,
what I
yes.
do is that in fact, there's a site called Low Carb Africa. That was it's called Low Carb Africa. It's by another Nigerian that believes in low carb. Yeah, garden egg. Good. Somebody just told me from Clara. Thank you, Clara. Yes, garden egg. So there's a site called Low Carb Africa. I don't know if people know of that. If you go to that site, she's done a lot of research on how Africans, low carb Africa. If you just search low carb Africa, you see the, you know, all the suggestions. Sorry, a lot of people asking me questions. I'm going to try and answer a lot of, I'm sure there are more questions than
When,
answers.
when you're done, we'll handle it.
You'll handle it. Okay, good. So let me quickly run through what I still want to go through. So yeah, like I said, diabetes. Diabetes is another problem coming from high sugar content, and so it's it's something that we should also be very, very cautious of, and it can be controlled. It's reversible. Many societies believe in drugs. Ozempic right now. I don't know if all of you have heard of Ozempic. It's a weight loss, or they use it for weight loss and for diabetes. It's the #1 selling drug in the world. #1 selling. And it's so new, we don't even know what the side effects of this thing is long term. But people have embraced it so much because they don't want to pay the price for discipline to control what they eat. So they want a drug to do it for them. So Ozempic is #1 selling drug in the world. So benefits of low carb lifestyle. There's a weight loss and diabetic control, which I've mentioned. Even there's heart disease prevention. People have high blood pressure, but I found out that when they go low carb, the kidney is forced to reduce sodium retention, and which causes loss of blood pressure. Reduced blood pressure. So there's, heart disease prevention from low carb, even mental health. There's some research that says that a low carb lifestyle increase, mental alertness and having more energy. This is incredible. Another benefit of low carb lifestyle. Then people that take antacids for acid reflux, we also found out that when they go low carb, they don't need to take that medication anymore. People that experience long-term chronic pain, like arthritis and fibromyalgia, again, low carb, all those musculoskeletal conditions, low carb lifestyle is thought to help. People that have migraine headaches, again, there's been some research into the benefits of a low carb lifestyle. Then I just want to also touch on something called metabolic syndrome. Now, metabolic syndrome is basically what you can also call metabolic health. Now, there are 5 components of metabolic syndrome. It's visceral obesity, where you have your waist circumference that is enlarging. Then there is something called low HDL. Like when you do your blood test, they come out with some lipid profile testing. Cholesterol, total cholesterol, LDL, which is low LDL, low LDL, HDL. You guys have probably heard about those tests. Triglycerides. So anyway, metabolic syndrome is a component of 5 things. I'll just mention the 5 things: visceral obesity, HDL, triglycerides, hypertension, and insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is basically when your body, your insulin is not doing what it's supposed to do. And, that's what eventually leads to prediabetes and diabetes. Now, if you have 3 of these 5 components, then you have metabolic syndrome, and then you are at risk of of strokes and other, not so pleasant medical conditions. Now, I want to say one thing here. cholesterol is not, total cholesterol is not included in this. You know, people will be shocked because everybody has been taught to believe that once you have high cholesterol, you have to treat it. And the drugs we use to treat high cholesterol is, they call it statins, you know, atorvastatin, simvastatin, Lipitor, Zocor. I have to admit, the drug industries, there are two enemies that are present all the time, that are interested in you becoming sick. The drug industries, which I'm part of, unfortunately, and the food industry. Those two industries are very, very powerful. Now, the issue about cholesterol, I'm not saying that it's bad, it's good to have high cholesterol, but your body makes cholesterol. Your brain needs cholesterol. Your sex hormones are made of cholesterol. So why the attack on anybody that has slightly elevated cholesterol, all of a sudden your doctor will prescribe one of those drugs called statin. Oh, by the way, statins is the second highest selling drug in the world. Statins, the second highest selling drug after Ozempic. So you now wonder what is going on. You know, as a pharmacist, I believe that we've been deceived. You know, cholesterol is not your enemy. But what we've been taught is that anytime your cholesterol is high, attack it, bring it down. There's even research that shows that lowering your cholesterol aggressively does more harm than good. But in light of that, when you look at metabolic syndrome, what is actually very important is for you to keep your HDL low. That there's something called HDL cholesterol. That is more important, to keep that low. Sorry, I said low. You need to keep your HDL, your good cholesterol, which is HDL, you need to keep that one high. And then your triglycerides, you need to keep that one low. So when next time you check your blood chemistry, pay attention to those two numbers, the HDL and the triglycerides. So you want to keep your HDL high and your triglycerides low. And then, of course, I mentioned visceral obesity. You want to keep your waistline. You know, in Nigeria, many men, they have pot bellies. They don't know they're playing with fire. That is visceral obesity. You know, you need to keep that low. And then, you know, your waist, for women, they say typically women's waist should be, maybe men should be less than 30, 37. Women should be maybe 34 or something like that. But your waist, having a pot belly is not ideal, please. You know, my waist was 34 before, now it's 30, I mean, it was 37, now it's 34, which is very ideal. And then, of course, your blood pressure should be ideally below 140/90. Again, let me caution you on blood pressure. The drug industries like to push it down, and you can only push it down to between 180 and below 180 and 80 if you use their drugs. That's another scam of the drug industries. Having a blood pressure below 140/90 is okay. Don't let anybody say you have to have below 170 or 80. To get those levels, you are going to have to go on drugs. So American Heart Association has said different guidelines are out there. And unfortunately, some of these guidelines are influenced by drug companies that want you on their medication. So I always advise my patients, as long as your blood pressure is below 140/90, you are good. You know, you are good. You don't have to drive it down to very low numbers, which sometimes can only be achieved with multiple medications. And but out of all the issues in life, the most important is this insulin resistance thing, insulin resistance. I always say insulin is the most important hormone when it comes to controlling your long-term health, insulin. And the only way you can keep your insulin low is by adopting a low carbohydrate diet. Note that I didn't say a low fat diet. When you go low fat, you actually have to compensate it with sugar, because that's just what happens. Anything low fat, then you find that your carbohydrates, like I told you, there are 3 macronutrients: carbohydrates, protein, and fats. People have been afraid of fats, but there is nothing wrong. Again, we've been told that fat is bad for you. Fat is bad for you. It will cause high cholesterol. It is not true. Your body, in fact, out of all of them, fat is what fat is. I mean, I'm talking about good saturated fat is actually what what does not spike your insulin response. Fat is the lowest spiking macronutrient, followed by protein. It's carbohydrate that actually, but I'm just going to get one book to show you on there's this book, I don't know if you can see it. It's called The Big Fat Surprise by Lena Tykos. Now this book, The Big Fat Surprise, it says why butter, meat, and cheese belong to a healthy diet. You know, so we have been taught that fat is bad for you, you know, but it is not true. It is not true. The ketogenic diet, which I advocate, is basically low carb, moderate protein, and healthy fats. There is nothing wrong with having saturated fats like meats, chicken, beef. Yes, I say beef because a lot of people, they want to go vegetarian and say, oh, meat is bad for you. It's not true. Trust me. I have been, you know, people that are vegetarians. Well, I'm not against vegetarian. It's okay. Some people, that's what they want to do. But research has shown that you know, yes, I'm not saying you should be eating so much fats, but, you know, there's nothing wrong with meat in moderation, fat in moderation, and cut your carbs to the minimum possible. And so I think I've been talking for about 30 minutes. So now the questions. So I guess we can go into a question session now, can we?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yes, sir, we can go into the question session now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the talk. It is indeed eye-opening. So we'll jump right into the question. Firstly, is it possible to stop diabetes drugs?
Now,
And I would
okay.
like to take multiple questions so that you can just answer them. Is it possible to stop diabetes drugs? And then, how can diabetes be reversed?
Okay.
Could you share a success story about someone who transformed their health just by changing their diets?
Okay.
Also, what are some quick, simple change? What are some quick, simple change one can make to their diet to start reaping health benefits immediately?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to note some of these questions down, so I'll take them all together. Sorry,
Yes, sir.
Do you mind just quickly running through the questions again?
All right, sir. Is it possible to stop diabetes drugs?
Yeah.
And how can diabetes be reversed? Could you share a success story about someone who transformed their health just by changing their diet?
Okay, yeah.
And also, what are some quick, simple change one can make to their diet to start reaping health benefits immediately?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so is it possible to stop diabetic drugs?
Yes,
very,
sir.
Very,
Okay.
very possible. Now, what I would recommend, it depends on what level of diabetes you're on. Are you just taking the kind of drugs you're taking? The worst now, the one that is possible is, of course, there's two types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is when they have no production of insulin whatsoever. So it's not possible to stop insulin if you're a type 1 diabetic. But if you're a type 2 diabetic, you start with drugs like metformin, you go to, sulfonylureas, or there are many classes of drugs to treat type 2 diabetes. And then the worst people, the worst condition is now treated by insulin, even in type 2. Now, so insulin, by the time somebody goes on insulin type 2,
Yes, sir.
it just becomes a progressive disease. When I say progressive, they will never get better, because type 2 diabetes is a condition of too much insulin. It's insulin resistance. It is not, adding insulin doesn't help type 2. Many doctors know it, but they just look for the easy way out with the drugs. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. Insulin, having more insulin causes more insulin resistance. So to answer the question, can you stop diabetic drugs? Yes, you can. And the only way you can, the root cause of diabetes is your metabolism can no longer deal with sugar, which becomes a poison to your body. So it's the consumption of sugar. When I say sugar, don't just think of table sugar. Many of the carbohydrates we consume, especially the ones that are below ground, pounded yam, rice, and all those things, they are all complex sugars. Once they enter your body, they get broken down into sugar. So when I'm talking about sugar, don't just think of table sugar. Talk about carbohydrates like bread, pasta, rice, porridge. Somebody was mentioning porridge. Even porridge is full of carbs. Potatoes and all those things. You need to cut or reduce those things drastically. You can take vegetables. It's good to have vegetables. Vegetables, try to increase. When I say vegetables that grow above ground, green vegetables and salads, they are fine. With fruits, you need to be careful. Even sweet potato. Somebody said, yeah, sweet potato and potato, there is no difference. They are broken down into sugar. Even fruits, tropical fruits like bananas, mangoes, pineapples, they have too much sugar in them. So the fruits I take now, I take berries. I know berries is not available everywhere, especially in Nigeria. So I take blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, apple and pear. But mango, pineapple, grapes, too much sugar. Be careful with smoothies. Somebody said smoothies. It depends what do you have in the smoothies, and I'm kind of answering other questions too. And then eat healthy protein. Meat, in fact, eggs is one of the best protein possible. It has a good mixture of fats. When I talk about fats and protein, eggs, meat, but of course, non-processed meat, fish, particularly oily fish, such as salmon, mackerel, sardines are good. Eggs are very, very good. I eat, even eggs, I eat about every day. I eat 2 eggs.
Wow.
Every day, I eat 2 eggs. Eating 4 eggs a day is not too much, And then, of course, you can take yogurt, plain. And then when you take yogurt, please don't take this low-fat nonsense that they've sold us, that everything low-fat, low-fat, low-fat. Take full fats, take full-fat yogurt. And you can have it with berries, limit your processed meats, but, by all means, take your meat. Don't be afraid of meat. And of course, so that basically says you can stop diabetic drugs. I mean,
Okay.
your doctor's consent. Please don't stop any drugs without your doctor. But before,
All right, sir.
before stopping the drugs, you make sure your diet is the right diet. Now,
Okay.
the next thing is reversing diabetes. Diabetes is not a drug problem. It is a dietary problem. So it can be reversed. Now, I will use myself as an example. You're telling me, do I know of any myself? There's a test that you do called HbA1c. The units we use in Canada or North America, it starts from about, 5 points. Basically, when you're going to 6.4, they give you drugs. They give you drugs when you're 6.4. So it's good to be ideally between 5 and 5.6. 5.6. Between 5 and 5.6. That's the ideal for HbA1c. When you go from 5.7 to 6 point, to the low 6, you are looked at as at risk or pre-diabetes. And then by the time you hit 6.4, they'll give you drugs to control your diabetes. So, like I said earlier on, diabetes is a condition where your body can no longer handle the sugar. It is, you are basically carbohydrate intolerant. Now, we all have different levels of intolerance. Okay, somebody said, how often can you do your HbA1c test? Your HbA1c test gives you the average of the last 3 months of basically how sugary your body is. So I would recommend every 3 or maybe every 6 months so that you don't get too paranoid about doing it. Maybe once every 6 months, you can do your HbA1 test. But if it's high, what you have to do is reduce what is poisoning you. And what is poisoning you is sugar and carbohydrates that are broken down into sugar. So yes, diabetes can be reversed as long as you maintain your low carb diet, low carb stroke ketogenic diet, you'll be fine. It can be reversed. But if you go back to eating all the carbs and all that, then you're going to be back to square one. And then simple changes that you can make. Just gradually start reducing your carbs. Okay, some other units. Unfortunately, I'm based in North America. In UK, they have other units in millimoles. Some people can probably help me out here. The UK, diagnostic criteria for HbA1c. So the simple steps you can take is basically reducing your carbs. That's what I preach now. Reducing your carbs. And I make okele. When you go to that site called Low Carb Africa, I've substituted my rice with cauliflower rice. I know a lot of people they like the real thing, the real rice. But I have substituted with cauliflower rice. Beans is okay. Beans has complex carbohydrates. You can eat beans. You can make your okele with cabbage, but you need psyllium husk to make it bind. That's cabbage. You can also use coconut flour. Most of these things, you won't know the difference. Once you can have the same okra soup, you can have efori roll, egusi is good. You can have all those things. You won't know the difference by the time you try some of those menus on Low Carb Africa. You know, and then of course, most of the like I said, you also need to add intermittent fasting to it. You know, live a fasted life. You know, it brings your insulin level down. There's nothing saying you have to be eating 3-4 times a day. You know, you reduce the number of times you eat. And, you know, so those are the simple changes you can make in your life. Then, of course, I said exercise. I've already brought in exercise. You know, but don't go crazy with exercise. Just, you know, go for 30 minutes walk, or if you're on your treadmill, 30 minutes treadmill, and try and do some strength training to increase your muscles, because that will help with your insulin control. You know, stress, anything that's causing you stress, reduce it, and sleep more. Those are the simple changes. It's mostly diet. Is not, most diet is 70 to 80% of the solution. And then exercise, and the other thing is probably 20 to 30%. Okay, so yeah, so I hope I've answered some of those 3 first questions.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir, you've answered them, so, but we have a lot more. So let me read out some.
Yeah.
So someone says, doesn't ketogenic diet cause weight loss?
It does.
So how does a diabetic who isn't fat at all cope with the keto diet? And
Okay.
also, I will add a second question to it. How does this low carb diet, intermittent fasting, apply to the different body types? And also, if you can give examples of strength exercises.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes. The ketogenic diet has gotten a bad rap over the years, and
Okay.
it's mostly through, they say, some people say it causes high cholesterol, it causes heart attack, you're consuming too much fats and all that. Yes, it causes weight loss, and it's been found out that weight loss, in fact, before you become a diabetic, there's something called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is caused by consumption of carbohydrates. Again, carbohydrates is linked to so many of our problems. Now, for somebody that is of normal weight, and they're thinking that I don't want to lose weight, you know, I'm not overweight, there is still benefit. Whether you're overweight or not, you don't have to. The ketogenic diet advocates about 30 grams, less than 30 grams of total carbs every day, which is quite restrictive. Maybe you don't have to go down to the ketogenic level. You can do the low carb level and still live a healthy life. You know, we all have different tolerance level to carbohydrates. Somebody that's already, you know, not on the obese side, they don't have to go down to 30 grams of total carbs per day. They can decide to do 50 grams or 60 grams of total carbs, but still reduce your carbs. That is the most important thing. Whether you are overweight or you're not overweight, you know, it's still good to reduce your carbs. And I know there are different body types, like,
Yes,
you know, there are different body types, but it is still, like I said, is related to the top one. You know, ketogenic diet is very restrictive in carbohydrates. You can, I wouldn't say I'm all ketogenic. I think I'm more of low carb. So I still take the occasional, you know, I don't take sweet potato, I don't take all those things, but I still take the occasional. I won't say I'm zero carb anyway. The bread, okay, I don't take bread too anymore. I take a low carb bread. I go to Costco and I buy, there's a low carb bread that has a net carb of about 2 grams of carbs, 2 grams, a slice of bread. So in terms of body types, whether you are thin, slim, or obese, I still advocate reducing your carbs. You may not have to go the keto restriction, which is 20 to 30, total carbs of, there's, when you calculate the carbs, there's something called total carbs and there's something called net carbs. They remove fiber and all those things from total carbs to get net carbs. I just look at the total carbs because I don't always believe that those fibers will not be absorbed by your body. So let's just look at total carbs. So, they can increase their carbs slightly and, over the keto level of carbs. And then something about strength. What was the question on strength again?
Hold on, let me get back to that. Yeah, examples of strength exercises.
Okay.
Examples of strength exercises.
Yes, example of strength exercises is,
Yes.
well, I advocate two types of exercise. Walking. Not everybody can be jogging. Some of us
Yes,
have knee problems. We are getting old. So, jogging, you get knee problems and all that. So I recommend, if you have a treadmill at home, just walk on the treadmill. Or you can be walking in your, when I used to go to Nigeria, when we are in the gated community, we go for walks. We go for walks in the gated community. Of course, you have to be safe in Nigeria. You don't want to be walking. You don't want to be walking anywhere where in fact, the new Ikoyi bridge, you find that people come from Banana area, they walk on that new Ikoyi bridge because they feel safe on it before somebody will come and carry them on that Ikoyi, that new Ikoyi from Ikoyi to Admiralty Way. You see a lot of
yes,
people walking, you see a lot of people walking up and down that place, which is good. They just walk. And then the strength exercises, just weights, just to, just lifting weights. You can, if you don't have weights, you can use your body too as your weights, doing push-ups and press-ups and pulling yourself, using your body as weight. Just strength exercise. That will develop your muscles, and your muscles will, like I said at the beginning, it's all about insulin. Your body will be more tuned to using its insulin well so that you don't develop insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is the biggest problem we have for a long time, concerning a long-term health, insulin resistance. And this precedes even pre-diabetes, it precedes diabetes when your insulin is just not working well. So when you do strength training with your muscles, it helps resistance. So use your body. If you have weights, use weights, or use your body as the weight. Doing push-up, crunches, and things like that. It's good. Exercise cannot be discounted at all.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So I have a question here. It says, is it true that any man from 40 should stop eating red meat to avoid prostate cancer?
Not true, sir. Not true, ma'am. Not true.
Okay,
not true.
All right.
There's been a lot of bad rap about eating meat. Like this book, I just bought it. The one I said is called The Big Fat Lie, Surprise. It says, again, butter, meat, cheese belong to a healthy diet. Again, it's a lie that eating meat, of course, everything should be in moderation. I'm not saying that. In fact, some people even call themselves carnivore. I don't know if you've heard of carnivore now. All they do is eat 100% meat. I don't subscribe to carnivore, but you know what? They have some amazing health benefits from carnivore. Being a Christian, I believe God has given us the meat and the plants of the earth to eat. So I believe in, eating plants But people have gotten some amazing health results by being carnivore, which is 100% meat. You know, I don't know if people have heard of carnivore diets. Yeah, yeah, but you know, so the question that eating meat causes prostrate, not true. Look
All
who's
right,
behind
sir.
it. Look who's behind it. You might find out they have it might be these vegan people or vegetarian people that are trying to, you know, and don't forget the Seventh-day Adventist Church too. You know, they don't take, if I'm correct, do they take meat? Seventh-day Adventists. You know, I don't think they take meat too. So there's a lot of people that have vested interest in promoting your. I mean, look at someone like Kellogg's. You won't believe that the founder of Kellogg's, Avi Kellogg, is a billionaire. He owns Kellogg's thing. He doesn't say anything wrong with his cereal, and yet he's a vegetarian.
Wow.
he sees a lot of things wrong with it, and yet he sees nothing wrong with the cereals, which is loaded with sugar, you know, and which does more harm to your body than the meat that they all don't eat. But they see nothing wrong with the different types of cereal. Of course, they don't like people like us saying you don't have to eat breakfast, because most of the cereal and all that is for breakfast. That's where they make their money. So, you know, to answer that question again, please continue eating your meat in moderation. There is nothing wrong with eating meat. It doesn't cause prostrate disease. It doesn't.
Okay, sir. So there we still have a lot of questions. So it says, how about juicing bitter leaf? Is it good for the liver? I'll just read some additional questions. Juicing bitter leaf, is this good for the liver? And also, can we substitute dates and honey for sugar, like an alternative for sugar? Can we do dates and honey?
No. Okay, continue.
Okay, also, sir, sorry, sir, because of time, is it proper to balance the taking of carbohydrates by eating rice with beans or vegetables? That is like a foriro. Instead of eating the rice with stew, we're balancing the carbohydrate by eating the rice with beans or vegetables. And what's the state of replacing Milo? What's your take on replacing Milo, Ovaltine, etc., which has cocoa, with just cocoa as your beverage? That is, instead of taking Milo and Ovaltine, can we just do cocoa as our beverage? What's your take on it, sir? And I think that's all for now.
Leave that. Yes.
Yeah, that's all for now.
Okay. So to quickly answer, I don't know bitter leaf. Unfortunately, I'm not too familiar with bitter leaf, juicing bitter leaf.
Sir.
What's bitter leaf? I know.
It's a kind of vegetable we use in Nigeria for soup.
Ewuro,
yes, ewuro.
Well, if it's above ground, so there's nothing wrong with it. It's above ground. So there's nothing wrong with it. Any vegetable, egusi, not egusi, ewedu, and all those things. And you can take vegetables, you can eat as much of any vegetables. Green bitter leaf is green.
Yes, sir, it's green.
You can eat any green vegetable and salad as much as you want. There is no problem with that one. I think it's even good for you. Any green. Now, in terms of dates and honey, there's also a problem. Some of these sugars contain something called fructose. Honey is 60% fructose, 40% glucose. Your body does not know the difference between natural sugar and synthetic sugar. Sugar is sugar. People will be surprised. They drink orange juice. Orange juice says no sugar. It's a lie. Check the label. When you say orange juice, not from concentrates, some people think, oh, this one doesn't have sugar in it. Please read the label. It has natural sugar, and it is still high. It's not, some people think it's a license not to drink orange juice. I don't take orange juice anymore because when you look at the label, it has sugar in it. Same thing with honey and dates. Dates have a lot of sugar. You won't believe how much sugar. Just look at the label. You know, start paying more attention to this label and you'll be surprised how much sugar these things contain. You'll be so shocked. So don't think, now if you have to use any sweetener, be careful. All this, you know, recently, WHO just said that they're going to classify, already saccharin was classified as carcinogenic. Sucralose, which we now use, in fact, it's caused a lot of confusion. They're now saying they're going to classify sucralose too. Is it sucralose or there's one sugar that is very common that they're now saying they're going to classify as carcinogenic. This is just came out in a couple of weeks ago. So, but the only sugar that I would probably say, if you have to use sugar, is maybe stevia and monk fruit. Yes, something called monk fruit. But of course, those in Nigeria might find it difficult to get those things. So far, those ones are thought to be safe and you know, not being carcinogenic, you know, able to cause cancer. And then the last question about carbo, yes, bitter leaf, dates and honey. No for those ones. And then carbohydrates. Sorry, the last question again on carbohydrates.
Yeah, this would be your last question, sir. Is it possible to balance your taking of carbohydrates by eating rice with beans or vegetables? Okay,
the only problem I have with that is I know a lot of people find it difficult to let go of their rice.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people find it difficult to let go. It's part and parcel of our diet in Africa. But unfortunately, you know, the Oyibo people will have a little rice and they will have more vegetable and more protein. But us in Africa, we will have a big pile of rice and we won't have as much protein and we'll have like 2 or 3 pieces of meat, but the rice will be loaded. That is the problem I see. Yeah, so it is possible if you portion control, you just take a little rice. But is it possible for us to take a little rice? We will not be full because we don't compensate with more of protein and vegetables. We like our carbs too much. Yes, you can do it, you can try it, but reduce your rice, maybe increase your beans, increase your vegetables, increase your protein. And then, but work towards going off rice. But, you know, that's another talk for another day. Going towards, you know, going totally off rice, which I have done that right now. And I've reversed my HbA1c from 5.8. I've reversed it to 5.4. I was never diabetic, I was pre-diabetic. But by maintaining a low carb lifestyle, I've revised it to 5.4, which is, I'm very comfortable at that level. So that's, you know, so just if you're going to take anything away from here, please.
Yes, sir.
Low carb, intermittent fasting, exercise, stress reduction, and sleep at least 7 hours a day.
Yes,
so
sir.
If that you can take away, you'll be in good shape.
Wow.
All right, sir.
So I hope I've not upset a lot of people with their carbs.
You have.
Coca oats is not good though. Don't be deceived. Coca oats is not good. It's too much carbs.
Really?
Yes. Coca oats. I'm telling you.
The wild oats, wild oats.
Wow.
Wild oats. Coca oats. Check the label. Always check your labels. That's what I would just say. Read the labels.
Check the label.
Yeah. Check the label for the carbohydrates.
What are we checking? What are we checking on the label?
Anything that has, you know, you need to, what you should be eating is food in the original form. Reduce your processed food.
Oh.
Any food that has barcode on it, watch out. When you go to the market and you buy eggplant or aubergine, it doesn't have barcode on it. It is natural in its own natural form. But by the time you go to cocoa oats, just check. You check the label, you see it will list the ingredients, carbohydrates, fiber, and everything. You'll be surprised how much carbohydrates in cocoa oats. People think cocoa oats is fine. Don't forget, cocoa oats is made by Quaker, I think some Quaker people. And, you know, they've sold us another lie that cocoa oats is the perfect breakfast. It is not true. You know, it is not true. I'm so sorry to break somebody's heart by saying cocoa oats is not true. You know, they want us to continue having our breakfast. And, you know, by the time you stop eating cocoa oats and you stop eating cornflakes, some people are not making money. So anyway, I think our time is far gone. Yeah, somebody's saying cocoa oats, God have mercy. Yes, check the label. Check the label. We've been sold a lot of wrong ideas that we've come to believe with time. You know, it's in the same, cocoa oats and cornflakes, they're in the same category. You might not know it, they're in the same category. But what I can say is that please check the labels. Start paying attention to those labels. Anything, when you go to the grocery store and you see something they call low fat, check how much sugar is inside. You know, check how much sugar, anything low fat, as if having fat is bad for you. There's nothing wrong with having fats. There's nothing wrong with it. It's actually good for your body. It doesn't spike your insulin as much as carbohydrates will do that. Cocoa, yam, no. Yam is carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates that is broken down into sugar. Oh, cocoa. Somebody brought the question of cocoa. I'll just quickly round up. Pure cocoa doesn't have sugar in it. But things like Milo, they've added sugar to it. But if you want to take cocoa, you can take cocoa drink. I take it sometimes. You can now add full fat milk to make your own cocoa, but it doesn't taste like the one that they've added, like Milo, they've added sugar and everything to it. So what you should just look out for is sugar. Check the labels. Anything that has sugar in it, reduce it, please. Sugar is your enemy. It is not fats, it is not protein, it is sugar and carbohydrate that is your enemy. Ogi has carbohydrates. Again, ogi is corn. It has carbohydrates. You know.
Ladies and gentlemen, if we continue these questions, we would not stop. So we have a lovely group. You all know that, okay? Because right now, I'm not feeling happy as I am thinking about my oats and all of that. Anyways, so if we keep asking these questions, we wouldn't leave here. Remember, we have a group, and we're going to invite Uncle Toyin to be, I call him Uncle Toyin, to be in that group for a wee while. And if he wants to be there longer, fine. So some of these questions, we can post it there, and occasionally he can give us answers, give us even a voice note or something. So we can go home, because right now people are asking about guinea corn, millet, all of that. Is it carbs?
Potatoes, sweet potato.
I eat my sweet potatoes with joy. Okay, I'm not
basmati rice.
We're living. Please, thank you, Sister Obegi. Can Sister Fumi please take over while I try?
Thank you very much. Yes, you shook so many tables. I'm actually thinking of what to eat now. Thank you so much, sir. And revealing the truth to us, because they tell you don't eat fats, don't eat fats. But meanwhile, sugar is the main culprit. Thank you so much, sir. And we look forward to having you on the WhatsApp group so we can post questions and you can answer those questions. Everyone, Thank you for joining. Thank you, sir. This has been such a very powerful and super enlightening program. You know, I've learned so much, so much. And there's so much to, think about. And in terms of planning my meals, reducing my carbohydrate content, and sugar content. I mean, it's quite difficult, but we'll get there. Thank you so much, sir. We thank you. We appreciate you so much for joining. And we look forward to your coming onto our WhatsApp group. We have loads and loads of questions. You can see the questions keep coming. They've not stopped coming. They keep coming. So thank you so much, sir. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining the event and interacting. We will continue this session tomorrow. So we look forward to having you here. You guys must realize that we've had so much information. I mean, if you were paying for this, like, I can imagine how much, you know, the nutritionists and the dietitians, if they wanted to charge, I can imagine how much they would have charged for this. So please go around, invite everyone to join tomorrow, and let us take our learning to another level. Thank you so much for joining this evening. So at this point in time, we will now close this session. We've overrun the session by about 12 minutes, but it was really, really so worth it. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. So see you tomorrow. Pastor T, over to you. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yes, thank you so much. So, of course, some of the questions we've seen and comments, we'll know we have quite a few doctors in the house. So I would like to say something that Dr. Dio wrote here so we don't forget. Though diabetes can be reversed, please do not go off your drugs without working with your doctor. And I believe that Uncle Toyin told us that. The truth, as we have been told, is that the pharmaceutical and food industry do not have the health population at heart. They want to make profit. However, we as Christians have to build our faith in God's word with our works, which is eating right doing all this information that we are getting. As we've been talking, people have been sending me websites, comments, and the like. Guys, that group is for us, and I want us to go back and engage engage that group nicely, so that at the end of the day we can enjoy the blessings of all of us being together. And that's it. So God bless you. I declare over you, I declare over everyone, our body is blessed. Speak to your body and declare, my body is blessed. My body is blessed. This body will not give up in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. I will live, I will not die. We are receiving this information to help us. So like Dr. Dio said, it's not just pray. There's prayer and there's works. So let us put carbohydrates. I reject you. I am not doing. I want to cry. Anyway, guys, I love you guys, and I want the best for you all. The team that have worked so hard to make this happen, I celebrate you guys so much. God bless you.